What's going on, everybody? It's Patriot Independence here. I got a breaking news report for you here today. Just want to go ahead and just get straight into it. I really do truly believe that World War III, aka a new Cold War, has already started. And whether people want to admit it or not, we are at war with Russia. If you look at the writing on the wall, we are at war with Russia. And can we even say that this is a war between Ukraine and Russia, when in reality, we, the US taxpayers, are funding this war? All the resources Ukraine is using to defend themselves is coming from America. We're sending them hundreds of billions of dollars, military equipment out the you-know-what. And this week, things have gotten dramatically worse. There's been a change in the way Putin is talking, okay? If you guys pay attention to all the news, he's now openly declared the United States an enemy state due to all the funding coming from the DC swamp. Biden, the poopy pants, recently gave Ukraine authorization to use those weapons that we are sending them, the HIMARS, the Patriot missiles, all that stuff. He gave them authorization to use those weapons to strike deep inside Russian territory. That's not good. That right there alone is going to cause major conflict. More conflict than there already is. And a lot of people might not get this because, like I said, we've been providing all of this stuff, but it's been for the quote-unquote defensive purposes only. Like, here's weapons so you can shoot down missiles to protect your cities and towns, to keep them from getting bombed. We aren't sending them for Ukraine to go on the offense, at least not until now. With Biden out in the open, he admitted giving authorization to strike Russian soil with US weapons. And I'll put some images up of all this stuff. You know, this opens the door for a strike on the United States, because the Biden regime is sending money, training the Ukrainian troops, sending weapons, and now with this move, it only added fuel to the fire. It really did. It only added fuel to the fire. And to be honest, it sounds to me like America is calling the shots in this war. So now, Putin responds with, okay, you want to give our enemies weapons and give them the green light to hit our homeland? I'm going to arm America's enemies and give them permission to hit your homeland, your troops that are overseas. This is not good. This is not good at all. And now you got a fleet of Russian warships, including nuclear submarines. They're currently in Cuba right now. They were supposed to be there, I think Wednesday, but they're there now. They got there early. And that's just 100 miles, mind you, 100 miles off the coast of Florida. Some reports that I've seen stated that a threat off the Virginia coast and the entire East Coast with the, I think they're the E6 Mercuries, the P8 Poseidons, and the Q4 Global Hawk drones. If you've noticed, they've been doing a lot of patrols up and down the East Coast, and I've got some screenshots. I'll insert them in there so you can see them. Now, with all of that, all those that military patrols up and down the East Coast, well, now we know why. There are Russian nuclear subs off the eastern coast of Florida. That's nuts. They're just 66 miles from the shores of Florida, on the eastern side of Florida. And they have 4 Russian warships. I'm telling you guys, something big is brewing. And no one is talking about it on the mainstream media. Don't you think that's a little odd? Does anyone think that that's odd? And if you remember, I did a detailed video on the Russian ships off the coast of California. You know, and then you're gonna have people. They're gonna try and say, "Oh, there's nothing to see here. Everything's okay," when it's far from okay. They have us completely surrounded, folks. We're completely surrounded. West Coast, East Coast, the southern part. We're surrounded. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about how this has the potential to wind up with a strike on the United States. Nobody's talking about it. It's not good. And then with the open border policy, God only knows how many made it into our country on foot. You had to think about that too. I did a report where 2 Jordanian nationals came through the southern border illegally, and they were dressed as Amazon delivery drivers, and they tried to infiltrate Quantico Marine Corps base in Northern Virginia. And come to find out, they apparently, from the things I've seen, they suspected there was a bomb in the truck. But there was never any more video about it. The mainstream media went radio silent on the whole topic. You know, I mean, it's nuts. So I'm gonna insert a news clip and let you guys see what's going on here.
Warships are on their way to Cuba this morning. That happened back in the 1960s, the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was just a little thing. Comes days after a warning from Vladimir Putin that Russia could provide weapons to actors that would then attack Western targets over those countries' support of Ukraine. News Nation's Robert Sherman is following that story from Washington this morning. Good morning, Robert.
Hey, good morning, Leland. It's the latest upping of the ante that's coming from Moscow here, in which you're looking at a nuclear-powered submarine and 3 warships that are set to moor in Havana. For context, it's about 100 miles away from Key West, Florida. Not the first time we've ever seen something like this happen in history, as you pointed out with the Cuban Missile Crisis. But that being said, it is significant considering the comments that have been made by Russian President Vladimir Putin here this week, in which he left the door open for the possibility of providing weapons to adversaries of NATO to strike the West after the United States said that there's a de facto green light for Ukraine to use U.S.-made weapons in order to strike targets in Russia for the sake of defending the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. Again, I mean, we've seen a lot of tough rhetoric coming from Moscow in recent months that has not led to too much in the way of tangible brinksmanship and action. But seeing these warships heading into the Western Hemisphere for drills that will taking place in the Caribbean, U.S. officials say it is significant and it is something that they will be monitoring. Leland?
Yeah, for sure. Monitoring, to say the least. Robert, thank you very much.
So as you can see, these conflicts, they're only getting worse, guys. And they're getting even closer to the United States borders. They're getting closer to our shores. All this should be a wake-up call to each and every one of you, each and every American. This should be a wake-up call to everyone on how quickly things can change and just how close we are to a major global conflict and how close we truly are to Russia launching missiles off of their warships and their nuclear submarines and striking major U.S. cities. We're close. I mean, it can very well happen. You know, people just, they put their head in the sand and they think nothing's going to happen. Everything will be okay and daddy government will protect us. The global conflict that's going to occur, it's going to make World War I and World War II look like a cakewalk, simply because of the weapon advancements since then. This wouldn't have happened under Trump. Under Sleepy Joe, America has no respect on the global stage. America has no respect at all. Other countries are laughing at America because of poopy pants. So now, because of Biden's weak leadership and his weak policies, now you got countries willing to test the United States in ways they never done before. Thanks to his weak policies, poverty is at an all-time high. Unemployment rates, all-time high. Inflation, all-time high. It's not good, people. You got Russian warships right off the coast of Florida, Russian nuclear submarines just 66 miles from the coast of Florida. Then you got other Russian warships on the west coast, off the coast of California. And it's all the more reason for people to start preparing for a major global conflict. Start preparing now for a grid down situation. Here in the next day or two, I'm going to do a video on some good handheld communication radios for when the cell phones become paperweights. That way you can stay in contact with your families. It's really easy to program, but I'll do a video on what, in my opinion, is the best handhelds for the price that you'll pay for, in case of an emergency. So prepare now while you can, and pray. Everyone, pray for a great awakening so that we can have peace, so that all these wars will stop, all this money will stop funding, these politicians stop funding all these foreign wars. I said it before, and I will say it again. I'm fully against funding any foreign war, especially when American citizens are struggling and going without. So, with all that being said, I'm going to close out the video here with a verse from the Bible. We're going to do Proverbs 19:17. And the Bible says, "He that hath pity upon the poor leadeth unto the Lord, and that which he hath given will he pay him again." It's something to keep in mind with everything going on. It's just one of those things where if you can't see the writing on the wall, then you truly are asleep at the wheel. So, if you find this information helpful, subscribe, like the video so the algorithm will get the video out there. Share the video with your friends and family to get the information out there, because honestly, this information is going to be important to wake people up. So with all that being said, thank you. Thanks for watching the video, and you guys all have a blessed day. We'll see you on the next one.